Ms. Chancellor, Chair of the Board of Governors, Mr. Vice Chancellor, graduates and honored guests, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce you to the honorary degree recipient this afternoon, Yazmine Laroche. The first thing you should know about Ms. Laroche is that she is an accomplished trailblazer. She embraces big problems, gets things done, and as such has had a very distinguished career in the federal public service, leading to her appointment as Canada's first ever Deputy Minister for Public Service Accessibility in 2018. Though her trailblazing work on accessibility is both historic and world-class, her work has covered many diverse subjects, from arts policy, transportation, infrastructure, to strategic planning and financial management. Wherever her work has taken her, Yazmine has been recognized for her leadership in its simplest and purest expression. She listens, acts boldly, and makes changes whenever needed to achieve stated goals. The list of Yazmine's achievements is as astonishing as it is long, so I'll have to be selective. She led the New Deal for cities and communities, which includes earmarking federal funds to support national objectives for sustainable communities. She oversaw the Gordie Howe International Bridge project, expected to set standards in both creativity and innovation. She was awarded the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012 for her work in the community. Ms. Laroche is Director and former Chair of Muscular Dystrophy Canada. Ms. Laroche's work has absolutely reshaped our country's conversation about people with disabilities, accessibility, and awareness. She also happens to be the first person with a visible disability to be appointed as Deputy Minister in the Federal Public Service. Yazmine has absolutely distinguished herself in serving as Deputy Champion for federal employees with disabilities. Her role ensured that the voices of public servants with disabilities were incorporated into Bill C-81, the Accessibility Canada Act, soon to receive royal assent. This act is historic, setting groundbreaking accessibility standards for the Government of Canada and organizations under its jurisdiction to ensure that public places, workplaces, employment programs, services, and information is accessible to everyone. Her mandate to design a strategy to make the Canadian public service the gold standard of accessibility and inclusion has made her a role model, a mentor, and an inspiration to Canadians. And to all of us here at Carleton who have had the privilege to work with and get to know Yazmine in recent years, she is our inspiration as we endeavor to complement the Accessible Canada Act by taking Carleton University to an unprecedented level of leadership in accessibility. To our everlasting gratitude, Ms. Laroche asked for and has become the Deputy Minister Champion for her alma mater, Carleton University. We are fortunate that it was here at Carleton that she obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communications in 1982. We are particularly gratified that she has chosen to return to us here today. Ms. Chancellor, in recognition of her distinguished career in the federal public service, and in particular, her significant contribution and commitment to accessibility for all Canadians, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Yazmine Laroche. Thank you.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon the recommendation of the University Senate, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Félicitations, mon ami. Très bien fait.
Madam Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, Chair of the Board of Governors, graduands, honored guests, friends and family, both here and those of you who are watching online, what a privilege it is to be here with you today. Je suis ravie d'être ici aujourd'hui, de retour sur le campus et de m'adresser à vous. Je ne m'attendais pas à cet honneur lorsque j'ai obtenu mon diplôme, ça c'est chose certaine. I am so honored to be honored so. Carleton is in many ways where I grew up. I remember way back in high school when I was deciding which university to attend. I had been offered a scholarship to Queen's University, but I turned them down. I had just received my first mobility scooter, and Carleton, even way back then, had the most accessible campus in the country. I could go anywhere thanks to those tunnels. And I have to say, my driving skills were legendary. It was also Carleton that gave me my very first jobs at CKCU-FM and at the Charlatan. In many ways, this institution shaped me. It ignited my passions for music, theater, and the arts, and set the stage for my very great love. You see, thanks to CKCU, I met the person with whom I have shared my life for the last 30 years. Who knew then that two people so very different would fall in love because of our mutual admiration for Carleton's legendary Shakespeare prof, the late, great Charles Haynes. My brother, who is here, is a graduate, as was my late sister. And my nephew Dexter now continues in the family tradition. So in a very real way, for me, Carleton is family. Carleton played this important role in my life and the lives of fellow alumni because of its progressive character and the vision of its role in our community. Carleton opens its arms to students from every possible background, from across this great country and around the world. And it challenges each of us to be here for good. Carleton helped me understand myself, and it readied me to go out into the world. The university taught me how to think, and, to misquote Shakespeare, how to be. It expanded my horizons, and it helped me to test my limits. I consider this to be a lifelong effort. But if Carleton opened doors and inspired me, the Public Service of Canada offered me opportunities to break down barriers on an even larger scale. I could never have predicted that my career would go this way as a new graduate. In fact, I still think of myself as an accidental public servant. It was my wonderful father who told me I had to come back to Ottawa and face my responsibilities. So I joined the government to pay down my student debts. But I got hooked. I came to understand that in the public service, I could make a tangible contribution to the life of my country, which is where my own personal motto comes from: make things better. And as I look back on my career, I can say that I have done my very best to live up to that motto. Whether in developing cultural policy, designing new national infrastructure programs, or creating the New Deal for cities, I've had the opportunity to do so much. And now I get to make a difference in a job that speaks directly to who I am and what I care deeply about. I'm here before you today, as Larry noted, as Canada's first ever Deputy Minister of Public Service Accessibility. And I'm the Government of Canada's first ever visibly disabled Deputy Minister. Why does that matter? Because it speaks to the country we have become. It speaks to our openness, to our capacity for growth, and our ability to change, to be and to do better. Which brings me to you here today, you wonderful, wonderful crop of graduands. You are just beginning. And what awaits you is ripe with possibility. Some of you will already know exactly what your career track is. You have your direction mapped out and you know where you are going. I envy you. Others will be more like me, staggered by the choices, not knowing which path to follow. All I can say is, don't worry. The important thing is, just begin. One step. That's all it takes. The path to your unique destiny. You have a world and a life ahead of you. And yet it is over in an instant. As the late Jean Vanier said, we're all here, but we're just local people, passengers on a journey. We get on and off the train, and this world will continue. What will you do on that journey? Where will you go? How will you shape the world that will continue without you? Think hard about what motivates you. What is that flame that burns inside of you? How best can you share it with the world? That journey that Jean Vanier spoke of is enriched by the people accompanying us. Our dearest friend from childhood who consoles you when you didn't get that A. The bus driver who lets you on even though your pass has expired. Our actions, great and small, can have a profound effect on the people we encounter. How will you show up? If you will permit me, I would like to describe a moment that made a huge difference to me in my life. About 10 years ago, when I first worked at the Treasury Board Secretariat, there was a tradition every year of having a celebration, a Christmas celebration, at the home of the secretary. That's the deputy minister for that department. Well, that particular secretary's home was not accessible. So for 3 years in a row, I made excuses to not attend. I would say, I'm traveling, I have visitors, or other engagements. I was afraid to tell her that I couldn't go to this reception because her house was not accessible. I didn't feel the confidence of telling her that, and I didn't want to make a fuss. Well, the next year, we got a new secretary, the woman who's now your chancellor, our chancellor, Yaprak Baltajulu. And when she sent out the invitation to the event, first thing I did, I Google mapped her house. And I saw right away that it had steps to get inside. But I decided that this time, I would explain why I didn't think I could attend the reception. I spoke up, and here's what happened. She called me back and said that she was going to rent a few wheelchair ramps so that I could participate. With that one act, she changed something. I went from feeling like an outsider, which I had felt my entire career up until that point, to someone who belonged. One act, huge consequence. You never know when something you say or do will have that transformative effect on someone. So as you think about your place in the world, consider another of my maxims. When you are old, really old, even older than I am, and you're looking back on your full, rich life, what will you regret? In my case, my regrets have always been about what I did not do, the risks I didn't take, the empathy I did not show, the apology I did not make, the I love you I did not speak. In closing, I want to thank Carleton for one of the greatest gifts you've given me, an understanding that true growth, true success, comes from working with and being with others. At Carleton, I was plunged into a world of difference, of people who came from around the world with totally different lived experiences. It made our classes, our social life, our work together so rich. Because here's the truth. As much as we may think we are just like our friends, or some of our family members, or whichever group we happen to identify with, we are unique and distinct. There is no other you. And it is your job to nurture that uniqueness, that precious light that is yours alone. And it is also your job to recognize that light, that uniqueness in others. Honor it, respect it, amplify it. It is how you master that ability to be wholly yourself and to build on what makes others different and unique that will shape the rest of your lives. No one succeeds alone. What is a poem without someone to read it? What is a breakthrough medical discovery without someone to implement it? What is a business model without someone to buy into it? It is that contact, that clash of ideas with people who are not like you, who do not think and look like you, that leads to discovery, to innovation, and the very real advancement of our world. In closing, let me leave you with this simple motto from the English author E.M. Forster, and it's from his novel, Howard's End. Two simple words that capture what I believe is our best and highest purpose. Only connect. Graduands, friends, families, esteemed colleagues, I wish you a life full of deep and rich connection. Thank you. Merci.